Good evening, everyone, and we welcome you back to the Garena Premier League Summer 2017. I am Vulcan, and with me is Arctic. We will be your shoutcasters for the closing game of day one of the group stage.
Yes, and what an interesting day it has been. What's even more interesting is the fact that earlier, Team Manila Eagles suddenly flipping on the switch again in order to take down one of the crowd favorites to make it out of the group stage into the next stage, Kuala Lumpur Hunters. And plus the fact that this game 8, after coming off that defeat from Team Manila Eagles, now they have to go up against their Singaporean counterpart, Resurgence, in this final game for day 8.
I gotta say, from the day one itself, we can already determine who is the cream of the crop, but now Young Generation stands at the first place, whereas Team Manila Eagles will stand in the second, followed by the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, Resurgence, and Head Hunters, whereas KLH has yet to play 4 games, so this will be the third game that KLH will be playing against the Head Hunters.
Yes, indeed. And for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they'd want to try to win this game as much as possible so they'd end up in second, tied up with Young Generation, and knock Team Manila Eagles out of their second spot right now. But we'll just have to see, again, another story for Resurgence, wherein they want to try to make that comeback in a way to keep themselves relevant in the running for the Garena Premier League.
So I gotta hand it to everyone who was watching. Thank you so much for the support you are showing to your teams, especially seeing how we're seeing new faces, roster changes. This really shapes how GPL is very different compared to the spring split of the GPL, whereas we're seeing now new format changes, new opportunities. We're now seeing Young Generation playing for the GPL for the first time in a very long time. So let's see how the rest of the group stages will play out. This is a fight for the spot going into the knockout stage.
Of course, talking about this game, by the way, it's interesting because if you're going to look at the servers for League of Legends across Southeast Asia, Singapore and Malaysia actually share a server. So I'd say it's a small rivalry in a way to kind of prove which country is better, although based off GPL history, you'd kind of say Malaysia. But then again, Resurgence, I gotta say, I do kind of have hope in them, especially with these imports that they have from Thailand to make up for the other Singaporean players that couldn't make it to the GPL right now.
What thing stood up to you most, Arctic, in this day one? I mean, pretty surprising to see Young Generation really stepping up, really changing the pace of the game. And now we're seeing also the new faces, TME, Young Generation, Kuala Lumpur Hunters. I gotta say, they are a veteran. They have won their respective league 5 times in a row. They deserve to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Truly the pride of Malaysia right here. But then again, we'll just have to see if finally, will Kuala Lumpur Hunters be able to emerge on top, because they fell short of that last GPL. With Mineski getting that first seed, but now looks like the tempo is very, very much different. The dynamic as well, with Veki having been reintroduced onto the roster as their AD carry. Veki, another one of those veterans that we've seen for quite a while in the Malaysian scene, went over to the LMS for a bit and then has come home to Malaysia with much success from what we've been seeing thus far.
So the return of Veki, one of the popular players of Malaysia, really returning to its home ground. So let's hand it over to KLH for their performance so far. But what I want to see most in this group stages is that the new ones, Young Generation, really showing us what they've got, because this is their first time entering the GPL for quite a long time, especially the fact that thanks to the Vietnam's performance, they are granted 2 seeds. But now, let's move on to the drafting phase to see how KLH will fare against Resurgence.
Yes, there we go. And ban's going to be thrown out right now. First ban actually going to be the Rakan, no surprise right there. Rakan has been something that is one of my personal favorite supports right now, I'd say.
One of the most powerful supports so far in the GPL. Almost always picked up unless it was banned. So respect bans and meta bans coming in from KLH, whereas Resurgence will be removing the Zach does not want any more pressure. And now it's Tristana.
Yes, wow,
For
very diverse
Becky.
bans. Actually, you have a support, you have a mid laner, you have AD carry, you have a jungler. So this is where it comes into play when you either want to ban an OP champion or you want to ban a champion that a certain person might be proficient at, or even both at the same time. But there we go.
Maybe the champion where the person is proficient is one of the high priority picks.
Oh yes, definitely. And Jarvan the Fourth as well, another contender that we've been seeing consistently, whether as a pick or as a ban in the GPL. So no surprises right there. Along with Orianna going to be taken away from RSG. Again, this has been a constant ban, if I'm not mistaken, from RSG. Very, very professional, not to mention the utility that an Orianna brings to really propel Kuala Lumpur Hunters. And the Maokai, another one of the OP picks, going to be locked in for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. No surprise once again. Gragas is, Gragas actually. So yeah, looks like we'll be seeing a Gragas as well as the Braum for Resurgence here.
So far KLH securing the Maokai, high priority, while Resurgence going for more of a defensive picks. Gragas and Braum, I think Braum has been one of the supports that can completely remove, let's say, Zaya or Callisto's presence because of that Unbreakable. But we did see in the previous game where Marky was able to surpass it thanks to the Featherstorm. But right now, KLH confirming that Cho'Gath in the top lane, it will be a jungle Maokai.
Yes, indeed. Again, this is one of the more trickier trends where these two very, very OP champions, if left unchecked, will be a nightmare for Resurgence to deal with. But then again, it's very much, if I'm not mistaken, there's a very high win rate when you combine these two champions, so long as you get the right composition to really complement their strengths there. So looks like the Sivir, very interesting pick's going to be thrown out by Resurgence thus far. I got to hand it to these two teams though. Like, not only do they have very talented players, but even the management for both teams, I have so much respect for having interacted with some of the people that work on these two teams behind the scenes. So, you know, I'm very happy to see both these teams make it into the GPL once again.
Let's hope so, because KLH is a name that echoes throughout the GPL history. So let's get on to the second banning phase, removing a lot of key ADC champions on Twitch, a Cockmouth, Tristana for Becky. But right now, Resurgence, they already secured a Severe, so they have no problem in doing that.
Oh man, we'll just have to see though. KLH really thinking out this last ban here, but nonetheless, this will be an interesting question as to what Becky will be picking for their composition here. I would actually like to potentially maybe see
removing a Lucian for themselves. This could have been mid lane Lucian that we've been seeing so far, but let's see how the how Resurgence will adapt to this, and it is going to be a hover on that Camille. Interesting. This could be perhaps one of the key players or one of a pocket pick for Resurgence. It would be going on to Rock. He has to be very known for that AD carry style top lane champions.
Looks like we will be seeing the Saya as well as the Cassiopeia locked in for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Again, Saya was one of those champions that Marky himself used during the last game that took down Kuala Lumpur Hunters. So we'll be seeing if Becky could pull out those same mechanics to really. But then again, I actually have no doubts that Becky would probably really perform on the Saya, no doubt at all. But Cassiopeia as well for our hedge, and the Twisted Fate actually.
Interesting pick. So looks like our picks are finalized right now. KLH and Resurgence will be going on to the last game of the group stages for day one of the GPL Summer 2017. Let's hope both of these teams have a good game. They do want to have a good ender towards this grueling day one where we had 8 games totally. So this is a double round robin format, and let's hope for day two they do step up and bounce back from their losses.
Indeed. I mean, it's just so crazy right now. From based on what we're seeing here towards the conclusion of day one, I'm definitely seeing some strong contenders as to who we will potentially be seeing will go up against both the Gigabyte Marines and Ascension Gaming from both Vietnam and Thailand respectively. But then again, a different story could be played out on day two depending on how these teams adapt. But then again, it has come down to this Kuala Lumpur Hunters and Resurgence. We'll just have to see, is it going to be the pride of Malaysia or the pride of Singapore that makes it as the victor?
So let's see to our viewers out there who are fans of KLH and Resurgence from Singapore. Let's hope that both these teams, they have a good time. But this is GPL. You've been training for this your whole life. You've been preparing it for it. So leave it to KLH from that one loss will not make them falter. So KLH, a strong name, but Resurgence right now, despite the 2 Thailand imports, they're showing some promising results.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think, to be honest, this is probably one of those GPLs where, I mean, like last one, I kind of had a clear picture as to what teams would be performing, but now, especially with all the shakeups across the board for the different teams, except for the Vietnamese squad and the Philippine squad, and the Malaysian squad to an extent, you know, it's just kind of mind-boggling to think which team could potentially make it to the top 2. There's some clear favorites, but still you can't discount the fact that some of these surprises suddenly happen, like Team Manila Eagles taking down Kuala Lumpur Hunters and so on.
Well, the fact that Team Manila Eagles, a new team entering the GPL, were able to take down KLH was a surprise, especially seeing how Ozora Becky did make a comeback. But now, let us get to the last game of day 1 of the group stages. KLH on the blue side against Resurgence on the red side. We do see a pattern where the red side often gets the upper hand, more win rate. But we did see that young generation broke that record.
Yes, again, at the end of the day, it all comes down to how you play out that game and play your composition to the T based on your win conditions right here. And win conditions would definitely be something that Kuala Lumpur Hunters and Resurgence have to take into account of respectively to secure that win that they need to prevail themselves to get out of the group stage potentially. But of course, Kuala Lumpur Hunters definitely at a better stage right now. And Presto actually spotting out bipolar, nothing particularly, but that will be a small spot out nonetheless.
Very interesting to see Intreso on a Twisted Fate against RH on that Cassiopeia. So, a glance were both picked up by these 2 mid laners. And I can see that KLH will be going for the blue star. Look at those presents. Be ready to pop onto a blue goaler.
Yes, that is going to be Christmas for Caspiel right there. But looks like, actually, good on Rock, managing to spot out where Caspiel started exactly. So that will be a bit of information that Resurgence could potentially use as far as determining what their pathing would be, transitioning over these first 3 to 5 minutes. But we'll just have to see just these small details. But again, it's also up to the lanes to kind of coordinate with their respective junglers on what potential opportunities they could fill out based on the laning phases.
And seeing how these teams pick their composition, most likely to focus might be on the ball lane, but it'll be very difficult seeing that there is that Jana and that Messiah, because the fact that no one can dive at Jana free level 6. Let's see for Eternal, he may be able to do it, but for top lane sides, I think might be the focus because we're going to be expecting Rock to be that heavy pusher, whereas Shiro will be the one taking the blows.
There we go, though. Our hedge, though, I mean, with this Cassiopeia, we're actually interested in seeing how this will transition for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, but so far everything seems very much standard across the board as far as jungle pathing. And
jungle pathing wise, I gotta see for Eternal, he is on the river. Could be going towards the top lane side, trying to pressure maybe Shiro even more, but as far as the laning phase goes, we have to expect that Caspiel, we've seen how he jungled was the previous GPL split, likes to take away all the resources he can, give the enemy jungler a hard time, and then make that opportunity for ganks, because seeing how Caspiel paths is towards invasion and also taking away gold. And we can see that Eternal may be expecting this, so he is doing the measures so that he does not fall behind that much in gold.
Indeed, I get it. Another one of those scenarios where I'm actually agree with you. I'm actually interested in seeing how Caspiel will be performing on this Maokai, because Caspiel
Eternal spotted in the top side. Here it comes the stock of rocks. Another stock from the body slam. A flash was burned, but Shiro will also burn the flash. A flash for flash in the top lane.
Yes, indeed. That will force Shiro to recall for the meantime as Rock as well. So unfortunate opportunity right there. Although flash for a flash, you know, without getting a kill. So quite unfortunate indeed, but still we'll just have to see, though. Utreso trying to get the chase onto RSG.
Right now, RSG is playing a bit more aggressive, being cast with Tia, but when you're up against a Twisted Fate, who has a lot of this laser stain and is really clear, you expect that RSG will have a hard time. Seeing how the CS is in favor slightly to Intereso right now. A second guy will be coming in. Shiro, this time a Summer Flash, but Eternal will be wasting his time. But right now in the mid lane, Caspiel got Intereso locked up, but no follow from RH yet. He does get slowed by the red buff. Maybe the Slapwing will catch up. Last one is there for the save.
Yeah, it's actually quite unfortunate. Caspiel not getting. I'm not sure if he was trying to get the angle to follow up onto Intereso, or maybe he just kind of conceded at that point. But nonetheless, though, it would have been interesting to see how that would have potentially played off with Eternal going for that response earlier. But looks like the chase actually continued. Intereso failing to back away.
This is actually good news for RH because this further delays the back time of Intereso, giving him more room in the mid lane, push it even further, and at least catch up in some CS. And now we're seeing RH completing the tier so that he can sustain that lane further.
Indeed. Looks like Intereso are going to be sticking around the lane a bit more to get a bit more farm, to get more optimal items there. But then again, he did start off with boots, so just for that extra mobility in case he does get slowed down by the Master from the Casio player in the midst of trades. So,
and I love how both of these teams are itemizing towards how adaptive they are. They don't itemize just because it's, I gotta get this 4 item. No, this is Shiro getting 2 cloth armor. We'll be getting that Bramble Vest to really have a more effective trade-up against Rock. So we're seeing that Rock will pick up the 2 long swords. We'll be going towards the Tiamat.
Indeed. But looking at the CS difference right now between Shiro and Rock, even though some of these ganks haven't necessarily led to translating into kills, it did do a great job at kind of keeping Shiro behind a bit in the CS game. 30-47 right now in favor of Rock.
So right now things are looking pretty steady for both teams. No first blood yet. This is an opportunity for any member to at least tip the balance into their favor, because when a first blood does get shed, this is the start of a bloodbath, especially knowing that there is a Cassiopeia and Twisted Fate, both mid laners who heavily rely on Snowball.
Indeed. And what I really like about this, if you're going to think about it, no matter how much you try to shut down a Cho'Gath in a way, eventually he'll start building up. Once the health starts building up, there's nothing much you could do about that. But the good thing is that, like, if you could try to kind of minimize the significance and impact that Cho'Gath has earlier on, then that could be a window of opportunity for you to capitalize on, which is why I really appreciate the pressure a bit coming in from Eternal here, because it does help Rock here kind of develop big, or rather the Camille develop that big, even though if it's just by a CS lead, still at Malaysia it is technically still an amount of pressure that they can capitalize on. But nonetheless, let's go ahead as we head back into this game.
So far, things are pretty steady, as I said before, but one first blood will be enough to change everything in this game, especially seeing how Resurgence, they are at a risk for being at the bottom, so they do want to secure this game, whereas KLH, they still are at a first win, so they want to keep the momentum, be in first place, take over the Eagles. So I guess for KLH, Kuala Lumpur Hunters, they do have this right on the line.
Indeed. I mean, Kuala Lumpur Hunters definitely one of the more consistent teams that we've been seeing in the GPL thus far. So there's definitely great expectation. It's like there's always a positive and negative to everything. Of course, the positive would be that KLH comes in, they're a team to fear regardless by reputation. They have been the best of Malaysia for time and time again. Very consistent, but at the same time, like on the player side, there's also that pressure where you have to live up to that. So we'll just have to see.
Oh boy, Caspiel spotted out in the jungle of Resurgence, forced to flash over that wall, but he will catch the gold card, and the stun from Rocks will give him that first blood.
Oh man, this is one of those trickier situations where Caspiel, in the midst of trying to go for that aggressive jungler that he can be, he also has to look out for any potential drawbacks wherein, if Resurgence like that, what just happened, for example, getting a full-on collapse onto him, and you know he's just very much far from the comfort of his own jungle. So it's something he has to look out for. But nonetheless, again, this is a Cho'Gath and Maokai that they're running, so it'll eventually manifest in itself in terms of just how OP these two champions are transitioning into the mid-lane game.
This is bad news, especially in the top lane side. Shiro will be forced to deal. Thanks to the first blood of Rocks, he did pick up immediately that Sheen will really help with his precision, and a Ruby Crystal will be going towards maybe a Triforce as soon as he can instead of a wave clear Tiamat, so this gives Shiro a really hard time.
I'm actually interested in seeing if Resurgence can establish some sort of heavier lead to try to make up for, because looking at the composition that Kuala Lumpur Hunters it has, you know, it's very, very solid, I'd say, having the Cho'Gath, the Maokai, even the Saya to an extent, plus the Cassiopeia and the Janna to complement that in a way. So overall, I'd like to see if Resurgence could just, you know, just hit that full throttle and shut down KLH to an extent where they couldn't make any form of comeback as hard as they try.
So this is going to be a Resurgence pushing back. Shiro goes over that rush side, but he moves to that Rock.
Wow.
Rock is in a bad spot. Caspiel is here. There is the sapling for the slow. No catch up yet. Forced to back away. KLH will not continue.
That would have been very dangerous if Rock weren't able to escape. I love the timing though of that Hextech ultimatum to dodge the rupture coming in from that Cho'Gath. I gotta say, you know, very, very good for Rock. And regardless, you know, he was able to escape the boot from both that Cho'Gath and the Maokai. That would have been very scary, especially since both the Maokai and the Cho'Gath are at level 6, having access to their ultimates, which would almost result to a lockdown in a way onto Rock had they been able to release a full onslaught of skills and damage.
Thank God for Shiro not being another victim towards Rock, because when Rock gets a good lead, a good start, he will give the enemy hell, especially we did see in previous games where he did play the Jace. He did a really good itemization, knows how to be aggressive, knows how to clean up, and this is the Camille we are talking about, which is a late game beast.
Ooh, yes, indeed. But wow. So it's like
We got coming in. Shiro is gone for the good. These three members diving under the turret. It will be Rock tagging in some hits while Intreso gets the kill.
that was a beautiful tie there coming in from Resurgence, and looks like Caspian though will be going for a defense, but nonetheless, great way to kind of set Shiro back further. Again, it's not just about the CS difference anymore, 62 to 90 between this Cho'Gath and the Camille, but also with that kill up, definitely puts Rock in a great position. As you say, you know, once Rock gets going on this Camille, that's something that KLH will have to contend and look out for.
But Shiro is doing the necessary adjustments towards his build path, finishing up the Tabby, the Bramble Vest will deny a lot of damage, but he has to stack up on more health. He does have the Feast passive where he does get more health, but he'll need more health than that when you're dealing with Camille who deals 2 damage. Now having a Phage and a Dagger really close to that Trish.
Ooh, looks like Drake.
Oh, RSG popping in some damage. Might go in, but there is the turret. He does back off.
That's the scary thing about this Cassiopeia, you know, just chasing down, forcing Intreso back, but nonetheless, regardless of these 1v1 problems in a way that Intreso might be conferring when going up against Cassiopeia for RSG, we have seen, like, once they do get into those numbers games where they can collapse with the complementary CC coming in from Gragas, from elements such as the Braum as well, plus the speed up from the Sivir, Hextech to Nazem as well to an extent coming in from the deal. That's where things really work. Again, if you're going to look at the overall composition that Resurgence has, it's all about the teamwork.
Teamwork, or more on how well you move up at that fast of a space, because let's face it, when you are going towards the lane for easy cheese, it's so much easier to do the 3 members who can tower them. Who can tower them? It's Rock, it's the Gragas, the Turtle, and there is Intreso for that Destiny. Quick response, but now Resurgence aim to get the first turret of the game in 13-minute mark.
I like the drop of the ward there. You know, not only does it grant vision, but also technically it would have granted Rock their potential teleport top, so there had been any chase onto the Kuala Lumpur Hunters and contest to defend that turret. But looks like nonetheless that will be the first turret of the game coming for Resurgence.
So Resurgence secured the first turret, they got the first blood. Things are looking pretty good, keep it that way, but KLH, they will try and stop it from. They'll try to stop Resurgence from scaling up even more, because this is going to be a really high priority game, because they have lost already once. If they lose again, they're at a bad spot. They are going to be forcing many tiebreakers, so KLH will try to get out.
If this is the win that goes in favor of Resurgence, then ultimately I could truly say that it's just so hard to determine who will be getting out of this stage. Because like, if Resurgence wins this, that's almost like a full circle in a way of a certain team beating another, and then this team beating another, and then it's just crazy. So we'll just have to see. But Resurgence definitely poised. But then again, you can't take out the fact that Kuala Lumpur Hunters has a very talented roster with years and years of experience across the board for some of these players.
And we did see the return of Becky, who used to be the main shot caller and the jungler of KLH, now in the AD carry role, whereas Resurgence is coming from Singapore. They used to be Team Rigel, now having two Thailand imports. This is very interesting because we are seeing this pattern where we're seeing veterans coming in, showing the new ones how it's done, and good old team members, teammates we used to hear coming back to GPL the summer.
And one of the trickier parts here is that if you're going to look at the matchup towards bot lane, because Resurgence is running both a Sivir and a Braum, Bipolar able to already build up on the Ardent Sensor. So, you know, because when you're up against Sivir and Braum, it's not as scary in a sense when you're trying to pick up coins coming in from your ancient coin here. So, again, this Ardent Sensor is going to perform beautifully in complement to Veki in the long run for this game.
Things are pretty dire for KLH in a way that Resurgence is really putting them on their backs against the wall and really pressuring each and every lane. The Mountain Drake is still alive. It's not yet taken. The first Drake of the game is really being tested and really taking their time, not really rushing. There's one mistake. Let's say you're 0-2 right now, but after that contested Mountain Drake, it could be 5-2.
Indeed. And looks like, ooh, will we be seeing some form of action though here towards the top side? Caspiel once again getting spotted out. Look at the vision though coming in from Resurgence. Definitely gives them a nice view towards where Caspiel would be transitioning eventually. Eternal trying to force something onto our edge, not quite happening. That is vision coming in from Kuala Lumpur Hunters in that rush.
Vision spotted all over the map. KLH sees that, and Resurgence will not wait any longer. They are really pressuring, especially seeing how Ciela is on the Severe. They are going for that push-orient composition with Caspiel. Knows what's up, he is ready to engage. When Tower Dive does happen, he is there. No wards placed there, so Resurgence does not know how many members may be behind that rush side, so they are backing off, really testing the ground with KLH.
Our Edge, though, you know, doing a great job at defending this turret here. It would definitely be dangerous, especially if you're going to look at it. Ciela's range on this team is just the right amount of range for our head to get some poison, transitioning into a Twin Fang play. Just with Ciela to overstep his boundaries.
Eternal and Caspiel. Two mighty titans looking it out. Here comes Destiny. And there is the clash up again. Explosive cast with a glacial finisher. Will try and disengage Resurgence, but Shiro picks him off in the bot lane side. There will be no teleport play coming in right now, but onto the top lane side it would be KLH scaring away the members of Resurgence, possibly taking the Rift Arrow.
Oh man, this is going to be big for Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Any level of footing that Resurgence might have developed as a result of their proximity and success in early game.
Ares still trying to stick it in. He does not anymore have his ultimate, but Ciela does have the red buff, where after seeing Becky doing his best to stack those feathers up, we do see the Rift Herald will be taken away by KO.
But oh, looks like Arhedge himself might be in trouble here.
Big trouble. Arhead is very low. Delver coming in. There it is. The Rift Herald does go to KLH uncontested. This is an objective for them. At least they came back.
Now let's go ahead and check out what happened though here in the replay. So the tricky part here was that Rock overcommitted, taking a lot of turret damage, and as a result, went down. So with a 1-for-1 happened, it's actually unfortunate because the good part of it, at least, was that Rock's death wasn't within the range of Shiro being able to get the ultimates onto him. Because if that were the case, then that would have been a great build up of health for Shiro.
So far, 1-2-3 kill score, 18 minutes and 43 seconds into the game. KLH bouncing back just a bit, but Resurgence does have the 3K gold lead. Itemization-wise, Righteous Glory completed for Shiro. One of his core items, the Rock, is a huge threat right now. 3-4 yeah man, he did rush that Triforce, so he will deal a lot of damage. Easier for him to pick off, let's say, Veki or Arhedge.
Man, looking at the gold though, looking very good for Resurgence thus far, especially Gold Impresso now actually at 8,000 above everybody else. So we'll just have to see Rock though.
Bring it on to Shiro. Fearless is really without a doubt. Here comes the help from Impresso. It will be a 2v1 with Shiro being taken down by Rock.
I love how Resurgence is capitalizing on the technically Shiro still being a little bit more on the softer side in a sense until such time where he starts stacking up on health because of his passive as well as items.
Look at the resources spent by Eternal to really fend them off, but to no avail. Resurgence will be taking away those objectives. And now with the Mountain Drake in the hands of KLH, this is KLH really stepping up in terms of their objective gameplay.
Man, this is quite tricky. If Resurgence pulls off a win, then I honestly don't know who is going to make it out of the group stage because there's, across the board, there's definitely been a great showing for most of these teams here in the GPL. So, but it's like Cielo though, getting chased, but we'll be able to escape.
Will be escaping away from the grasp of Veki. So 1-4 kill score again. The Baron is live. It is the point where the Baron may be the key factor for KLH to come back from this deficit.
Oh man, the Resurgence actually gonna be defending the look at the
on the hot pop by CL. He will back off, whereas Ares is there for the assist. He does have the Glacial Fissure, whereas Shiro will be joining them shortly.
And they get the counter on Ciel's recon. Nope, not exactly. But nonetheless, I mean, in the midst of Resurgence kind of restraining themselves to this middle turret defense here, look at how bright the map is towards the side of Resurgence or Shell and Hunters. In the midst of all the chaos with Veki and Bipolar just kind of keeping the distraction on Resurgence, giving it forever straight across the map, but nonetheless, we'll just have to see though.
With the turret being demolished in the mid lane, Resurgence have 4 turrets for here comes. It lands off Flames a bit too early. Arhedge will pay the price to Rock, but here comes Veki for the response. Veki takes down Rock, and it will be a 1-for-1 trade.
Quite unfortunate right there. That's something they have to look out for. Veki now having a great platform in a way through that one kill to just really start winning because Veki's going to be very, very painful here. And in a way, if you're going to look at the composition that Resurgence has, there's just so many ways that in Resurgence could go right in and ultimately get stopped by the stun coming in from Tali because of the spread out of feathers.
And it's also the fact that KLH do have the advantage when it comes to objective, but Resurgence have a lot more turrets in their hands. More turrets, more map control. They were supposed to be the ones to take those Drakes, those Rift Heralds, but it's KLH fighting back and taking away one of the key objectives that Resurgence was supposed to have control of.
Indeed, and looks like Resurgence going to start establishing vision of their own. This was going to be very, very good for them. Again, it's actually now looking bright red for them towards the side of Kuala Lumpur Hunters. That will be something they have to look out for. Caspiel, though, will he be caught out? No, but that vision is putting down for the meantime.
Vision is being executed down. They're trying to get the control. Some technical difficulties right there. But KLH is looking pretty good so far, especially the fact that they did take away some objectives from the Drakes and Rift Heralds. That's more than enough for them to at least come back from that deficit.
Resurgence. So a little bit of a tricky issue as we get a glimpse of what's going on right now in Thailand. Both these teams, you know, I could kind of feel the nerves in a way, but ultimately, you know, it's very much natural for any player, whether you're in the amateur, even the pro scene, even if you're a pro. Well, actually, I feel like even when you're pro, there's a lot more jitters because there's a lot more on the line. Because not only are you representing your organization, you're also representing your country to an extent. You're kind of like the hope that everybody is riding on to bring glory to your country, and especially in a platform like the GPL, particularly for this season, wherein the top 2 get to go to Worlds.
Well, this is Wars on the line, so anyone would try their best to at least get a shot, be at the big stage in China. So far for KLH, they do want that spot for World Fest Resurgence. Trying their best so far to at least end the game as in their favor, but KLH so far is catching up pretty steadily.
Indeed, and that's something that Resurgence has to take into account of. You know, so far we've been seeing smaller pickups, but nothing that really complements or leads them to a solid victory here.
Yesterday's
wow.
on them. RH gets picked up again. Treso is on the killing spree where RH is 0-2-1. Only a Roa and a needlessly long run was completed, so this gives Resurgence more room. Possibly the Baron might be the eye for Resurgence.
I'm actually surprised by how KLH has been playing this thus far, because a lot of the kills that Resurgence has picked up is because of these instances wherein a unit of the Kuala Lumpur Hunters would kind of be isolated.
Oh
that
boy.
Would,
Trying for a sneaky Baron, trying to bait them out, but it would be a bipolar spotting them in. Thus, there is the Monsoon to fling away rock from the air, so this does deny the counters the Hex Temple Tornado.
Yeah, but wow, I mean, as I was seeing for Resurgence, most of the kills that they got was because of Impresso proactively managing to find the proper pickoffs wherein they could easily overwhelm members of the Kuala Lumpur Hunters by the pure numbers game, like we did see Impresso kind of going in for the Destiny, knowing that there could be a potential follow-up coming in from Yella using the Sivir ultimate, just like the other side.
Yeah, here comes the Glacial Fissure for the disengage, no follow-up there for KLH. Whereas Resurgence will back on, there is the Caspiel Zoning School, so they will be able to take down their second turret of the game.
And I like the skin coming in from Caspiel. It's like he's kind of wanting to get that early Christmas gift in the form of a win against Resurgence, but I don't know. We'll just have to see if Christmas will indeed come early for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, because so far from what we're seeing here, 2-6 on the scoreboard, not to mention almost a 4,000 to 5,000 goal deficit that they're playing around. Definitely Resurgence living true to their team name, really kind of surging through thus far, but whether or not, like we mentioned, as this game goes along, there's definitely a lot more windows of opportunity opened up for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, especially the more that Shiro builds up on his stacks, as well as itemization to make him just even all the more harder to take down. Because towards the late game, I don't think they could rely on Resurgence. They couldn't really rely on the strategy wherein they use the Destiny to continue to get pickoffs unless it's a vulnerable target. Because earlier they were able to deal with elements such as Shiro, but once these champions build up on the items that they need, both Caspiel and Shiro, then the limitations as to what Resurgence could pick off from the roster of KLH narrows down to the Cassiopeia, to Ozora Vecchi, as well as the Bipolar.
So time is ticking for Resurgence lead. They are trying to secure it there. Here comes Shiro. He does get picked up. Destiny's onto him, whereas Rock gets the lockdown. Beast will not finish him off.
The beauty here is that I like all the proactivity from the early game to try to set Shiro back, because it's definitely manifesting in all these plays that Impresso is making where he gets the pick out, and that will be yet another turret going into the hands of Resurgence.
5 turrets down. KLH only has 2. This is the inhibitor turret. Slowly being taken down. A lot of time being wasted in the Baron side, where Resurgence takes the time. They kick it down. The inhibitor turret.
I am very impressed by the Singaporean squad right now. If anything, regardless of whether or not they have these imports, this is some of the best games that I've seen from the Singaporean team to date in the GPL.
So Caspiel trying to cast Arius with the blast zone. 3 members joining in into the riverside. And Baron is still alive, but the counter will be taken and solo by Resurgence. Rocky, they is taking his time with the Cloud Break.
I mean, I gotta hand it to Rock here. It's been very impressive thus far here in the GPL based on his performance. So nonetheless, that will be a dragon with the bonus out of combat movement. That will be quite beneficial for Resurgence as well, especially considering the nature of their composition, wherein with how they've been picking up kills, you know, in Treso, using the Destiny to seek out targets, to take them down as isolated, and with that out of combat movement, it actually complements this roster in a sense that they'll be also able to respond much more faster when those instances happen. But we'll just have to see again, 2-7, still very much within Resurgence's favor.
Very much in the favor in terms of, let's say, goal lead, but that will quickly be outside the window when the timer does reach, let's say, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But right now, KLH, they are going to Baron for Resurgence. A very gushy move. Let's see if it's paying off.
Yeah, indeed.
Here comes our head. This Garena was protected by a game. The Glitch is there for a very powerful slow zone. Rivers cannot catch up with Castiel. He's forced to back off, but Chiro gets the jump onto Ciela.
And in the midst of this 11, you know, Rock could have potentially gone for a teleport because this Baron is going down very, very fast.
They're still forcing the Baron. Let us see. Harris is there. Maybe for a steal. Flashing body blast. Where does the Baron go? It goes towards Kuala Lumpur Hunters. And this is the comeback they've been waiting for.
Oh man, but Treso as well as Rock actually trying to go for the split here. No inhibitor taking down the turret, yes, but still we'll just have to see. Kuala Lumpur Hunters with this Baron buff, they could potentially try to set up to turn things around. Looks like RSG canceling.
Oh, flash hit 4, that's done. The gold card will be Dreso's money card. He's on a rampage. 404, great KDA. He does have the Midnight Soul Stealer, and now Rock. He is not giving up just yet. We'll still try and pressure the bot lane.
Yeah, let's go ahead and check out what's happened here. So, Kuala Lumpur Hunters easily going for the turn here because these are just 3 members coming in from Resurgence here. And Treso was kind of on the other side, potentially going for a flank, but that was just overwhelming. Again, this is what I'm talking about here as far as the power of Kuala Lumpur Hunters composition once they collapse on you.
Baron plays in the hands for Kuala Lumpur Hunters, but I don't think they can use it effectively. Seeing how they only taken out 2 turrets, whereas Resurgence has 3. So this is a huge lead for Resurgence. KLH is catching up, but let's see for itemization wise. Becky doing really well, has the Essence Fever, the Rapid Fire card, and the Infinity Edge.
Oh man, Resurgence, so looks like they'll be trying to cancel any further aggression that KLH will try to push for with this Baron buff here, but nonetheless, I love how Rock is continuing the split push. You know, you'd think that Kuala Lumpur Hunters with this Baron, they'd be the one trying to go for the pressure, but regardless, you know, Resurgence just kind of going about normally, and definitely we'll just have to see if this works into their favor as far as trying to wait out for this Baron to go down.
The Baron timer is the box timer is dwindling, so KLH. All they're doing right now is pushing and defending the tier, not pushing down turret. So I think for that, the Baron buff is more catch-up goal, whereas Rock is still in the bot lane side, really wrecking Shiro in terms of sheer damage, thanks to the true damage.
That is some crazy damage coming out from Rock there. So, I mean, regardless, it's definitely a clear telltale sign that Rock has, assuming that it's a 1v1 where no interference or backup comes from KLH, it's very much feasible that Rock could
Man, look at the Resurgence still pushing.
Wow.
Going for straight to the inhibitor. 3 members of KLH will not have any more minion waves, so they can continue to push. Whereas Rock is there with some minion waves. The collapse does have into the mid lane side. Shield bumps the right slowly. No kill secured yet, but Becky will pick up Aris. But still looking at the base. KLH has to respond. Whoa! Phantom Interaso is unstoppable, where Rock is still trying to take down the turret. He takes down one Nexus turret, tries to get away. He does has the hook shot to get away from danger.
This is absolutely amazing coming from Resurgence. This is how you played the composition that you have to the T. I'm loving the creativity coming out from Resurgence here.
Hero giving up all sets of hope, forced to give his head to a turret.
I love these successful backdoors being played out coming from Resurgence here. It's very, very classic, but leading them to much effectivity that Kuala Lumpur Hunters, you know, they're just dealing right with whatever they can in the moment, but Resurgence definitely always one step ahead with very much of a clear game plan that really allows them to just take advantage of the innate strength of their composition. I'm just amazed. I'm really am. This is just very refreshing to witness coming from the Singaporean team.
They risk a lot. It was a high risk, low reward scenario for KLH. They only took down a turret. I don't think they were even able to take down the inner turret. So this is KLH losing that trade-off, losing that fight. They've lost 2 inhibitors. That's bad news because the Ocean Drake will be live soon, and the Baron maybe spawning up pretty soon. So this is going to be Rock having more room to push, and Ciela with that Severe will have his fun time in the top lane side, seeing how the members of KLH are forced to defend the mid and bot.
One of the trickier parts here from what I've seen, based on the loss that Kuala and the Hunters concurred against Manila Eagles, and potentially, maybe, just maybe, if Resurgence is lucky enough against Resurgence as well as that.
Oh boy, here comes the pressure from Resurgence. Impressive in the mid lane, whereas 3 members are on the top lane side. Rock is there in the Nexus space, doing his best to shut those turrets down. 1v1 Shiro. Members of KLH back off. They want to defend their last remaining Nexus turret. Rock has the Guardian Angel, really pressuring the members of KLH. KLH will not defend that turret. The inhibitor is exposed. Resurgence is trying their best to close the game as fast as they can.
That's so much pressure. Kuala 400 so
nice dodge from Becky with that explosive cast, but seeing how Resurgence, they're so eager to end the game, will force a clash inside the base of Kuala Hunters. This will be their last chance. There's the redemption for the heal and the monster for the heal, but it will be Rock ignoring everything that's happening into the base, going straight for the Nexus. He does have the Guardian Angel, and the Nexus is exposed, and it will be Rock stopping the Guardian Angel and possibly ending the game. Resurgence comes out on top. Pretty much shocking. I can see your face, Arctic.
wow.
What a shocking victory for Resurgence.
I'm just honestly both shocked and happy in a way for the Singaporean team right here, because they're definitely showing a way better showing that they've had over these past recent GPLs, and I think that they've been receiving a little bit of flack these past few splits from some of their own fans, but now I can honestly say that we're looking at a potential contender here for Singapore. So I'm just very happy for them.
So congratulations for Resurgence for concluding the first day of the group stages, and I gotta hand it to them, a really well played job. Knowing that Resurgence, I'm surprised what happened there. I mean, Rock just ignoring everything that happened, just go straight for the Nexus. Clearly, one of the things that you should watch out.
I mean, I just love this dynamic coming in from Rock and Intresso, and the trust that they have in the rest of their squad to be the optimal distraction whenever Kuala Lumpur Hunters decides to commit onto the remaining members of Resurgence. It's that when KLH goes full commit onto the rest of the Resurgence, that's like the go signal for Intresso to go for these split pushes, or earlier it was just more of the pickoffs leading into the split pushes. So I'm absolutely amazed that Resurgence, really used that strategy wherein they had that thought process wherein we don't necessarily have to go for these earlier team fights. We just need to try to use whatever innate advantages our composition has. Again, it's the pickoffs early game to mid game. Mid game to late game is more of these split pushes that Kuala Lumpur Hunters wasn't able to deal with. Mind blown, man. I'm absolutely happy for Singapore right now. I have a lot of love for most of these Southeast Asian countries here, and it's always refreshing to see a team that's an underdog perform, just suddenly surprise everyone by performing.
And it's the fact that I just love how they were clear. They know what to set their eyes on. Go straight for the Nexus, ignore everything that happened. But here are the standings to see how the first day has come to an end.
And of course, yes, first is currently Young Generation, 2-1. Team Manila Eagles following, having played 4 matches today, 2-2, followed by Resurgence, 3 games played with the 2-1 score. Kuala Lumpur Hunters in 4th, 3 games played at 1-2, suddenly finding themselves in 4th. And 5th place, Indonesia's Headhunters, 3 games played with a 1-2 as well, tie.
Things are looking pretty good for Young Generation, but it will be Kuala Lumpur Hunters maybe having a comeback. So, guys, we will be seeing you for day 2 of the group stages. Stay tuned for for that tomorrow we'll have another session of esports action. We have been Shoutcasters. I am Vulcan, and with me it's Arctic. See you on the day 2 of the group stages of the most prestigious League of Legends league in the entire Southeast Asia, the Garena Premier League Summer 2017. Good night, everyone. Just catch Ciela. He is forced to back off, but Chiro gets the jump onto Ciela.
And in the midst of this, on the other end, Rock should have potentially gone for a teleport because this Baron is going down very, very fast.
They're still forcing the Baron. Let's see, Aris is there. Maybe for his shield flashing, body slash. Where does the Baron go? It goes towards Kuala for Hunters. And this is the coming side. Shield pumps the Legend slowly. No kill secured yet, but Becky will pick up Aris. But still looking at the base. KLH has to respond. Phantom Interaso is unstoppable, where Rock is still trying to take down the turret. He takes down one Nexus turret, tries to get away. He does have the hook shot to get away from danger.
This is absolutely amazing.
Inside the face of Wallopper Hunters. This will be their last chance. There's the redemption vortex, heal in the box for the heal, but it will be Rock ignoring everything that's happening into the base, going straight for the Nexus. He does have the Guardian Angel in the Nexus is exposed, and it will be Rock stopping the Guardian Angel and possibly ending the game. Resurgence comes out on top. Rebound shot